should pop up any second now. Ah, there we go. I'll get the recording session. Okay. So after this is complete, I'm going to repeat my response to that question so that we have it on the record. But once this meeting is over, and it'll be about 20 minutes or so, the teams will send me the recording. I have to send it to our marketing department to turn it into a YouTube video to share it externally. I have no idea why. This is what they require me to do. So I will do that and make sure that I get it over to you guys. Okay, so we were talking about the declaration of insurance, and you guys have followed a bunch of steps to try to get an insurance company to give you the info, and it's just not working out. So to reiterate what I said, when you are unable to get that declaration from the 2017 policy year, what you can do is make a note to file, put a note in the application itself, as well as send Vakeen the contact information for the insurance company, and we will send our usual request for verification of any amounts. Okay. All right.
Yes, so follow-up question. This is Jose. So what happens if after you attend, we still don't get the paperwork? Is there some administrative hold that we could put the case in so it's not aging and it's not, you know, because I look a lot of aging reports and I'm big into that, moving the cases along. So we have, you know, some of this customers or applicants that have applied since, you know, mid of October. Now we're in March and we're still looking, trying to get documents and they're not moving forward. So is there some type of administrative hold or anything that we could, I guess, put the case to the side where it's indicating that, you know, we're not able to receive the documents? Or is there a withdrawn policy at this point if we're not able to get the required documentation? Because now I wasn't very clear on the withdrawn process that you guys have put on the manual. So that's one of my questions, kind of ties into this.
Okay, so administrative hold and withdrawal. So I need to go back into the manual and see exactly what it says. I know that we have a process in place for if someone is not being responsive. This particular question, I don't know if this is happening with multiple clients or if this is one particular client, Angel, but this seems like a situation where it's not the client being, well, I just don't want to get you the information. It sounds like there's just been the perfect storm of problems in obtaining it. In that case, I would not be comfortable placing this client's application on hold for that reason, because it's not their fault that this is not occurring. I think we need to continue to try the steps. Now, as far as how to do administrative holds, I will get back to you with that response. I want a chance to go back in and look at the manual. And speaking of that, version 2 is finalized. We have gotten all of the policy changes and required things approved by executive leadership. So that will be published today and be going out to all of you. So Roxanne, you'll get it, and then you'll just have to disseminate it to everyone else. But that'll come out today.
Great.
And it will be very important to look at that. But I will look at what the current information says in there and see if there's anything that I can add to that for this type of specific scenario.
Yeah, and just in general, like, I don't think I saw anything, you know, on as an administration or administrative hold. And, you know, past programs, when we have difficulties with the clients or whatever it is, we just kind of put them on hold. So then that way we kind of continue serving the other applicants. And at some point we kind of circle back to those on hold, or, you know, we kind of tell them, hey, your application is on hold, you're missing this documentation, or you need this. And normally we will send letters stating what is missing on their application. Sometimes that wakes them up, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, we just want to also, and I'm hoping that on this new version you guys added, like, you know, what the withdrawal process is, you know, as to how many, you know, unsuccessful attempt, et cetera, how do we move them out or withdraw them from the program?
Okay. So I will do that, research that particular one today and get back to you before the close of business.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next question.
Yes, I have two more, Kathy. So one is for the pre-tax calculating the Medicare, the elderly people that receive that, or some are not elderly actually receive that. I shouldn't say that statement.
Okay, Angela, hold on. You broke up. I heard the part of the first sentence, but not the whole thing.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Kathy?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I was asking in regard to pre-tax. I couldn't find anything in the policy for that, like 401k, things of that sort. Is that something we need to be concerned with? Or should we just count everything? I want to make sure if there's an appeal, we have some clients that are almost over the income. So I want to make sure when they do that appeal that we've done our due diligence, and if that needs to be subtracted, that we do so.
Okay, so I guess it really depends upon what so are you using the 1040 version of the income calculator, or because they filed a tax return, or are you using the annual gross income because they did not have to file a tax return?
We've had two different scenarios. Regina, you want to speak on this because it's in reference to more of your cases that we've been seeing this with. One particular one, these were wages. I do know that. And I want to say the next one was a 1040, but I have to ask Regina to make sure because I can't remember.
Okay.
1040 and one is not. One will qualify if the pre-tax is available, and without it, they qualify.
Okay, so when you're saying, I'm trying to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. You're saying pre-tax?
Yes, like 401, 401k. Okay, that would be considered pre-tax. So if we kept that in, the amount that's on there, this person will not qualify versus if you take it out. And the reason I brought this question up is because the Medicare and Social Security piece of it, we don't include the Medicare premiums.
Okay, so in that case, you are absolutely, actually, okay. I'm sorry, I'm having to delve back into my Cpd Income Calculator days, and it has been a hot minute since I have had to do that. So, okay, so for 401k, if they're filing a tax return, you are using the adjusted gross income number. So in that case, I'm trying to think, there's a specific line on the 1040 form, and I don't know what the number is. So I'm making a note here I'm going to look at the 1040 form and find out what number it is you should be using because it is adjusted gross income.
Right.
And so I can't, being a non-tax, and I'm not an accountant, I can't speak to whether that is using the pre-tax amount, including the 401k or not. And I haven't done my taxes yet this year, so I don't know. So let me get the number on the 1040 form, and I have a sample.
It may be line 11.
Well, with that being said, a lot of the tax forms has been adjusted, like 17 and change, 18 and change, 19 and change. But in the system, at 2021 it changed. But then in the system, in the manual it said that you have to go by a specific name because the tax form changed, but the change hasn't been made to the actual the income calculator. The income calculator is strictly based upon, we have to know the policy, but I can't find where it says what deductions we actually use for the CPG. And I know we've used the home, but I'm not sure if that's the correct version we should be using.
Okay, so I need to look at the CPD income calculator if it has not been updated with current information, because we are required to use that income calculator for the DR programs. We don't have an option of calculating it another way now. So I am going to look into that as far as the 1040 information using the tax return goes. As for your question, your thing on the, you actually cannot deduct the Medicare premium from the person's income. That is not how that works. So if you are using if they are receiving Social Security and therefore do not need to file a tax return, you must use the total amount of the payment. And then there are certain qualifications that would allow a deduction of a certain percentage of any medical costs that they may have. But you can't just automatically deduct the Medicare premiums.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I think before when we asked it, we were kind of confused. It was a yes. So thank you so much.
Okay. So I have this one noted too. I will get back to you by the end of the day with an income about the 1040 and which numbers. I'll review the CPD form, and if need be, notify them that there are updates that need to be made, because oftentimes that it'll take someone outside of HUD saying, hey, this isn't working quite correctly, to say and get them to do it. So I'll take a look at that today. I have that noted.
And the other one was for wages. I think this particular person was getting paid every 2 weeks.
Okay.
With added on there.
Was what added on there?
With the pre-tax. I was just giving you both.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so basically you take whatever their wages are. So for example, if their amount prior to taxes is $1,000 or prior to any deduction. That's the thing, is that when you're looking at a pay stub, you're taking the total amount. So if it was 40 hours times $15 per hour, the gross pay is $600. You have to always start with gross pay.
Thank you.
If you're looking at if you're not looking at the tax return. If you're looking at a pay stub and calculating annual income using that manner, you will always start with gross income. So it is however many hours they work times what their hourly rate of pay is, or if their salary, whatever that salary amount is.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
So Kathy, just to be clear, I do have one more question about the Social Security, especially benefits. So if the person is getting $1,000 monthly, they bring the benefit letter showing the income and everything, and then let's say they take $100 for the premium, and then the bottom of the letter says, total benefit $900. So am I putting the 1,000 and not the 900 to calculate? I'm just throwing a number like that just to make it easier.
Yes, you are pulling the $1,000. And then as you're using the CPD income calculator, there is a section for medical expenses. Certain people, and I don't have all the qualifications, I know if someone is declared disabled, so if they are getting SSDI, they are automatically eligible to receive a credit for anything above, and Vakeen, correct me if I'm wrong here, 3% of their annual income that they spend towards medical expenses.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, is 3%. So it's a little bit of a calculation that has to be done, but if you enter the information into the CPD income calculator, it should do it for you. I will test that today. But you will always start with the $1,000, and then the calculation would occur from that 100. So for example, I'm just going to pull my calculator up real quick because I don't want to do this math in my head. So if we had $100 times 12 months, that means they're paying $1,200. Now you would times that by what, 3%? 3% of their annual income. So their annual income is $12,000 times 3%. percent. That's, give me this. That is not right. So that's $360 is 3%. So if they are spending $1,200, they are then eligible for a credit of $840. So basically it would become $12,000 minus a credit of $840, making their annual gross income $11,160. Does that make sense?
It does, but I have another question. Now, with me, I've been looking through policy and I've been trying to find exactly what we go by when it comes to our program, the disaster recovery, and it doesn't really say. It has directions and instructions for home. It has it for Section 8, but there's nowhere where it actually say, well, this program goes specifically by this set of instructions. So it refers us to home, but it also says that your calculations may be incorrect if appealed, because there are certain deductions that home has that the CBD, our program does not. So I just don't know, which one to use, like you said, with the, like with how to put it in calculate, because we have to put a policy before, and there's nothing for certain that says this is how you do this based upon what you're saying. The manual just says go put in the gross income. It doesn't mention any deductions or what qualifies a person for deductions in the manual.
Okay, right, because it would, at the time that we wrote the manual, there were clear-cut instructions on following the Cpd Income Calculator. If those have been removed, that's something that I need to look at. So that I just added that to my notes here, and I'll see what is there at this point. And see if it's something that I need to escalate to HUD to see if we can get it there, or if we need to maybe put out a 1 or 2 page document as an addendum to the manual on income calculations.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions on income?
I just have one about extension. Can you give me the specific time frame? I couldn't find that for the extension. If our client is stating that they're having a difficult time with getting documents from third party information or what have you, what would be the time frame we can give them?
So typically we give about 30 days initially. So when they come in, they meet with you, you tell them these are all the documents that you need to obtain and submit. Moving forward, in order to move forward, you would typically give about 30 days for them to get it. I would say 1 30-day extension beyond that without some extenuating circumstances is acceptable. However, I will put the, kind of add this here, that is also a conversation that you should be having with Roxanne and the entire, whoever needs to have that in Brunswick. They may have a different idea, but I would say 30 days initially from the date of intake with a 30-day extension unless there's extenuating circumstances.
And as far as notices, based on what she says, that was the extension. But notices after that, like we sent out the appeal notice. I know we have 10 days. They have 10 days to respond, and we have 10 days to respond with the appeal. But it says that we have a specific date. So will that Brunswick also, or is that a DCA policy?
Okay, so you're saying that they have filed an appeal?
No, it says we have to have a specific date on the notice. Like,
Yes.
yeah. So say we have, like, not an extension, but unresponsive.
Okay.
Is there a certain amount of days we have to give them based on policy, or is that something that we just get?
you'll want to have that discussion with Roxanne and the Brunswick team. That's a subrecipient level decision that can be made to determine how, additional time and what date you want to put on that letter.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding, anything, anything we've talked about thus far, or did you guys have additional questions beyond what you've asked so far?
I have one. I only have one question for the revisements that you're stating that you're going to be sending out today. If there are any changes that need to be done to the cases, how will that pertain to the cases that we already have submitted?
The only change that would apply to cases that have been submitted is the title, and that went out via email in February. So that is the only thing that applies to current cases. Anything that is prior to release today and the implementation date would be for next Monday, because I want you all to have a chance to go through any of the changes that went in there. But I don't think anything changed so much that it affects, that something would have to be done differently for your current cases. But if it did, it does not have an implementation date until next Monday. So intakes that you conduct from now until Friday, close of business, would not be affected by any changes in the manual other than the way that you have to obtain title.
One last question. What's the declaration of insurance? A lot of my dates are from their insurance dates are like from August or July, like say 2017 to 2019. Is that sufficient coverage as proof of insurance coverage, or would I need that whole year to be covered?
At this point in time, if you're struggling to get the actual declarations page, which is just the one-page document, you can send us anything that shows that they were covered as of the date of the storm. So if you're seeing documentation that says July of 2017 through June of 2018, that's acceptable. We prefer the declarations page because it gives us the full dates of coverage, the amounts that they were covered for, as well as the full contact information. But if you're struggling to get it, you can certainly give us what you have, so long as it shows that the housing unit was covered on the date of the storm, which for you guys was September 11th, 2017. So if it follows a year range, you're good. Any other questions? Okay, well, you guys made that really easy. I thought it was going to be a whole lot more complicated than that. But I will tell you this too, guys. If you have a specific question that comes up, whether it's one client, whether it's 5 clients, you don't have to necessarily wait to schedule a meeting and let's have a big conversation. Shoot us the question via email. Send it to myself and Bakeen, and we will make sure that we get a response to you guys as quickly as possible. But we will also acknowledge, hey, we've received the question. Either we can answer it off the top of our head, or we have to do a little bit of research and we'll respond by this day. But don't feel like you have to wait until we can schedule a meeting like this to get your questions answered, because that's part of what we're here for. With partnering with you guys is to make sure that, because I have this example that I always give, and it's called the hill in the middle. And so we created the manual to cover that hill. And so we talk about the hill being kind of something that goes like this. And so 80% of what's going to happen is going to be covered in that hill. Then there's 20% that's going to be on this curve, and there's 20% that's going to be on this curve. Those 20% are where you come in and ask the questions like you have today. So don't hesitate to reach out to us via email. You can also always try to call Vakeen or myself. We're not always easy to reach by phone because we are still teleworking. We do get voice messages directly to our emails though, so we can certainly return calls, or I should say we're supposed to. I was in the office last week and I had 10 voice messages I had received 1 email for. So it's a glitch in the new system. They switched to a new phone system, but we'll get it figured out. So email is the best way to reach us, but don't ever hesitate. If it's just, questions like this or any questions at all, you need us to clarify something, feel free to reach out via email too. I mean, we don't mind getting on meetings like this, but we don't want you guys to have to wait either.
And Kathy, do you want to continue to come from Route 10? She's awesome about setting these up. And like with the emails and sending, if I have questions, to make it easier, or you are opening up the door for Regina and Charmin or myself to email you directly?
Well, I will leave that up to Roxanne.
Okay.
So it might be easier. It might be for the questions to come from one person. So my suggestion would be present them to Roxanne in a Word document, in an email to her, something along those lines, and she can send them to Vakeen and myself. Just to make it easier. And this way here, you're not sitting back waiting saying, well, is Kathy going to respond to me, or is Vakeen going to respond to me, or should I include Roxanne? My suggestion would be to have Roxanne do it to keep it centralized, but you guys can certainly discuss that with her. Jose, you have your hand up.
Yes, I was trying not to bring this up now, but I think I have to. We're having issues with the Harris Law Center and the turnaround, and I know Roxanne is probably a little frustrated. So we got plenty of cases that we submitted to them. They promised some type of update on the cases and titles, and I believe on Thursday or Wednesday last week, they pretty much sent an email to us saying that none of the cases are ready, nothing came back either way, and they have to rerun it. So now, again, my favorite word of the day, aging. So now we have cases that I'm ready to submit to DCA for approval and get, the help that the customers need. And I can, because I'm not getting any titles, any title clearance or any type of guidance about the titles. So we're just a little frustrated on that end. And I know they're contracted directly with, with you guys, DCA. So maybe, you guys could help out or just give us better guidance or expectation. But we have not been very successful using that tool in order to, help our applicants.
Okay, so what I can tell you is that the state of Georgia as a whole, the court system, which is where they are getting these title searches completed through, is experiencing a huge backlog, as well as just they're not fully operational yet because of the pandemic. So what I can say is I have a weekly standing meeting with Georgia Air Property Law Center, and I will certainly address the question with them regarding the timeline, because I don't want to give you well, this is our expectation, because I'm not the attorney. I don't deal with the courts on the process. So let me talk to them. But I do know in previous conversations that we've had that there is a ton of backlog in the courts that they unfortunately do not control. So I'm not sure what priority level court systems are placing record keeping requests, which is essentially what a title search is. But I will talk to them when I speak with them this week and see if I can get a better timeline.
So, Kathy, that reminds me that is my mic. Yeah. I thought maybe, and maybe this is something y'all need to discuss, but there's the Georgia Superior Court Clerks Cooperative Authority. We were thinking maybe we could get a membership to that, and then maybe these guys could do more of the title searches through that. Does anybody use that tool?
I have not heard of it. Can you shoot me an email with a little bit of information on that? 'Cause I don't know. I'd have to review it. My off the cuff scenario would be, I don't know that DR funds would be able to pay for it because we are paying for a subrecipient agreement with Georgia Air Property Law Center for essentially the same service, but I don't want to say that's my definitive answer until I have a chance to look at what you sent.
Okay. I will send that to you. Thank you.
It's relatively cheap, Kathy. I think it's something we can do
Yeah.
within a time frame.
Okay, so like I said, let me see what the information that Roxanne sends, and I will get back to her as soon as I have had a chance to research it.
Thank you.
All right. So is there anything else that we could do for you all today? All right, I'm seeing
Not from my end,
silence.
so thank you so much, Kathy, for taking the time.
Absolutely, that is one of the things that we are here for, and I look forward to getting any other questions. This will go in the email to Roxanne, and I'm sure she'll reiterate it to you guys when I send the version 2 manual. But if you have any questions about anything in there, just absolutely, again, once you determine with Roxanne the best way to get questions to Bakeen and I, feel free to send them along, and we will do our best to answer.
Great.
All right, and look for at least one, if not a couple of emails throughout the course of the day from me on the questions that I am going to research.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.